As I stood on the beach with my son, he unexpectedly did something that left me utterly stunned. This is a true tale of betrayal. 2 years have elapsed since the world transformed. What was meant to be a simple outing, a day at the beach with my son Leo, quickly took on a life of its own. Ethan, my husband, was unable to join us on this occasion. He did not. Work held a place of utmost significance in my life, and solitude had become my familiar companion. Yet there was an unmistakable quality to that day, a sense of difference that lingered in the air, not just in the past but in the present as well. As the sun enveloped us in its warmth, we unfurled the towels with care. The warmth of that day may have been excessive. I reclined, savoring a fleeting moment of tranquility away from the clamor of life, and requested Leo to assist me in applying sunscreen to my back. I hadn't given it much thought. I am a parent, my child. What would compel me to do that? Initially, it appeared as though he was merely lending a hand. I beheld it subsequently. His fingers brushed against me repeatedly, descending further with each caress. I allowed him to continue unimpeded. What held me back from taking that step? You think you understand who you are. You are family. Yet, there are times when a single moment can shatter everything. It happened for me on that day at the beach. Ever since that moment, I have felt a profound shift within myself. For more than 15 years, I shared my life with Ethan as his wife. Those familiar with our lives would have described us as a perfect pair, residing in a charming home, raising delightful children, and enjoying a stable life. Only when you step inside do the issues reveal themselves. To experience hollowness is a sensation that can only be truly understood through the act of living it. Ethan's work consumed his thoughts for years, filling his weekends, late nights, and even holidays. He accomplished it for our sake, I would often remind myself. His relentless effort and unwavering commitment were destined to pave the way for a brighter future for our family. However, that line of reasoning began to lose its clarity after some time. What is the value of a house that stands empty, untouched by its inhabitants? He was unable to perceive my presence any longer. Upon his arrival, he scarcely cast a glance in my direction. He ceased inquiring about my well-being, desires, and necessities. Our conversations were brief, touching on matters such as bills, food, or the children. He held a deep affection for Leo and his younger sister Lily. He resembled a specter, lingering in their presence yet somehow distant. It exists yet it feels elusive. I would sit opposite him at the table, pondering whether he still recognized my presence. That morning is etched in my memory. Ethan burst through the door as I stood in the kitchen. He retrieved his suitcase, pressed a gentle kiss on Lily's head, and cast me a fleeting glance. I apologize, Freya. Regrettably, I cannot attend today. He mentioned that an unexpected matter arose at work. I chose not to contest it. I merely nodded and forced down the lump in my throat, as I have always done. I reassured myself that everything was all right. Leo and I might venture forth, just the two of us. At the age of 16, Leo stood tall and slender. His father's brown eyes gazed from a visage that was gentler, more tender in its expression. Upon revealing that it would merely be the two of us, he remained notably silent. With a mere shrug, he accepted the bags and trailed behind me to the car. He occupied the passenger seat, immersed in music, gazing out the window as countless teens often do. A smile crept across my face as I observed him. He transformed so swiftly that I frequently found myself fearing a mere blink would cause me to lose him as well. As I navigated the winding road to the beach, thoughts of Ethan flooded my mind, a familiar refrain that played on repeat. Memories of our shared moments flooded back to me. Evenings spent at the cinema, leisurely strolls, and spontaneous adventures, all crafted in the spirit of enjoyment. I reflected on the way he would caress me, the way his eyes sparkled at the mere sight of me. Years had passed since I experienced such feelings. I felt little. I felt utterly exhausted from the absence of recognition. Upon our arrival, Leo assisted me in transporting our belongings to a serene location by the water's edge. He unfurled the umbrella as I arranged the towels beneath it. For some inexplicable reason, I felt compelled to speak with him. Perhaps he was the sole presence in that moment. Perhaps what I truly required was simply a willing ear. Would you concur that being outdoors is quite pleasant? I endeavored to infuse my words with a sense of joy as I spoke. He swept his hair back and gave a nod of acknowledgement. He replied, Yeah, Mom, it is quite pleasant. As I reclined upon the towel, the sun's warmth enveloped my skin. For a brief moment, I allowed myself to be still, seeking respite from the weight of the past few years, if only for a fleeting instant. In that moment, the thought of the sunscreen crossed my mind. I rose from my slumber and cast my gaze upon Leo. Would you be so kind as to assist me in placing this on my back? I inquired. I find myself unable to reach it. He paused for a moment, contemplating, before finally reaching for the bottle I offered. I reclined once more, my back resting against the towel, and endeavored to bide my time. His initial touch was gentle and deliberate, as if he feared causing me any pain. It brought a smile to my face, reminding me of the way his tiny fingers would clasp mine as we navigated the street together in those carefree days of his youth. I advised him you might want to apply a bit more pressure, yet my voice remained subdued. Everything is fine. As he applied the oil to my shoulders and back, a newfound confidence radiated from him with each movement. The warmth and rhythm of his hands compelled me to shut my eyes. I allowed myself to savor it for a brief moment. It had been ages since I felt the warmth of another's touch. The weight of that thought was far more painful than I ought to have expressed. Then his hands began to glide downward, gently and deliberately tracing the curve of my back. I inhaled sharply, my lips parting in an attempt to voice my thoughts, yet silence enveloped me. Despite the tumult of thoughts swirling within me, I chose to remain silent. I reassured myself that all was well, convincing myself that he was merely lending a hand and that my concerns were unfounded. I was aware that I wasn't, however. Once he set the towel aside, his hands lingered for a brief moment, suspended near the edge. I sensed the weight of our shared uncertainty, yet I chose not to intervene. Instead, I uttered words I wished I could take back. Everything is fine. That can also be touched. The statement lingered in the air, charged with an unsettling energy, and the moment it escaped my lips, I realized I was alone in this revelation. He remained silent, while Leo pressed on without hesitation. I shut my eyes firmly, sensing his hands exploring places they ought not to have ventured. I wondered if he could sense the rapid thumping of my heart. I felt a surge of determination rising within me, compelling me to stand up and demand that he cease his actions. I did not, however. I found myself unable to do so. I took no action regarding it. I remained perplexed by the reasons behind it. Perhaps it was the sensation of profound solitude. Perhaps it was the yearning for acknowledgement, despite its moral ambiguity, or maybe I had simply lost my concern. On that fateful day at the beach, a part of me shattered, and nothing has felt the same since. I appreciate your company on this journey. I understand that this may be difficult to accept, and I truly value your willingness to listen. If you find this story captivating or believe it could resonate with someone you know, please consider liking and subscribing. It allows me to weave more narratives of this nature, and brings a sense of companionship in my journey. It is time to proceed. Everything seemed transformed after that day. Afterward, the gaze Leo cast in my direction lingered in my mind. The events that transpired and the emotions they stirred within me were immutable, beyond my grasp to alter. It was neither fleeting nor insignificant. It continued unabated. As I gazed into his eyes, an elusive quality held my attention, leaving me unable to pinpoint the source of his peculiar expression. Yet, I found myself unable to turn my gaze elsewhere. It lay hidden beneath the surface when we returned home that night. As if nothing had transpired, I fulfilled my responsibilities, prepared dinner, inquired about Leo's school day, and folded clothes into the late hours of the night. Reflecting on the events of that afternoon, my hands trembled incessantly. His hands, the manner in which he lingered, and the tension I felt all conspired to keep him at the forefront of my thoughts. I regretted my actions and resented the way he made me feel regarding my own son. Ethan remained oblivious to any peculiarities. He consistently arrived home late, his face weary and his tie loosened. By instinct, he pressed his lips to my cheek, a delicate trace of the affection that once lingered there. "Has the day stretched on endlessly?" I inquired, seeking to spark a conversation. With a mere grunt and a nod, he made his way toward the living room, the customary course of action. His presence rendered me an afterthought, and once more I felt invisible. As the night enveloped us, Ethan's rhythmic snores filled the air beside me, while I remained wide awake, my gaze fixed on the ceiling above. Though the house remained still, my thoughts echoed with intensity. My thoughts were consumed by Leo day in and day out. His hands, his eyes, and all that had transpired. I made the difficult decision to bring it to a close before it spiraled further, for deep down I understood it was not right. Yet, a shadowed and more isolated facet of my being clung to it, yearning for the caress, the recognition, and the feeling of being acknowledged. As the days unfolded, Leo remained silent on the matter, yet his silence resonated more profoundly than any spoken words could convey. He remained close to me. Rather, he appeared to linger nearby. He would observe me as I prepared meals, tidied up, or simply sat in solitude during the night. It transpired. I allowed him to continue, just as I permitted myself to do the same. The following weekend arrived with an oppressive heat, making the house feel as though it were engulfed in flames. He had vanished once more, swept away by the demands of yet another unexpected shift. Once more it was solely Leo and I. I inquired if he was comfortable returning to the beach alone. I find myself questioning the reason I mentioned it. I once believed that the great outdoors would grant me clarity of thought. I may have sought to challenge myself, to discover just how far I could cast everything aside. The drive unfolded in a serene silence. Leo chose not to listen this time. He merely gazed out the window, his knee fidgeting restlessly beneath him. I attempted to articulate a thought, to express something, anything, but the words eluded me, refusing to emerge despite my earnest efforts. Upon our arrival, the beach lay nearly deserted. The water shimmered in a vivid blue hue, while the gentle breeze caressed my face with a refreshing touch. Once more we unfurled the towels, and Leo lent a hand in our preparations. This time, I found myself unable to request that he apply sunscreen. I shut my eyes and reclined, pretending that all was well, yet his gaze lingered, palpable and unsettling. Without a doubt, he caught sight of me. As the afternoon wore on, the tension reached its breaking point. We opted for the beach showers to freshen up before our departure. In an effort to simply rid myself of the sand, I anticipated a swift resolution, yet an inexplicable occurrence unfolded that continues to elude my understanding. Leo was the first to step beneath the cascading water, allowing it to flow down his back. I lingered in the shadows, observing him for a brief moment before finally deciding to intervene. I find myself questioning the impulse that led me to shed my clothes and step beside him in the refreshing embrace of the water, allowing its gentle flow to cascade over my skin. Leo regarded me with a look of astonishment. His expression was difficult to decipher. It might be astonishment, uncertainty, or perhaps something entirely different. He remained silent. After gazing into his eyes for a brief moment, I suggested, "You might consider removing your shorts as well. It is essential to rinse thoroughly." I find myself questioning the reason behind my words. I may have been attempting to assert my control, to demonstrate that I could halt everything, or perhaps I was testing him or gauging my own capabilities. He hesitated briefly, but ultimately succumbed to the moment and removed his shorts. We stood alone as the rain cascaded around us. Gently, I inquired, "Assist me with my back." My back turned to him. Indeed he did. As before, he exercised caution with his touch. The tension between us was unmistakable. I froze in place as his hands found their way to my waist. The atmosphere was heavy, and the rush of the water drowned out all other sounds. Perhaps I could have found a way to depart. I possessed the strength to bring it to a close. Instead, I reclined against him, took his hands and drew them up to my chest. He remained passive as I engaged in the struggle. The events that followed are difficult for me to articulate completely. I shall refrain from doing so. It unfolded as a haze of yearning, solitude, and an elusive essence that defies description. It lacked softness. It certainly wasn't sluggish either. It was intense, futile, and misguided in every conceivable manner. Though I yearned to cease, I found myself unable to do so. I had no desire to. Once it had concluded, we remained beneath the relentless cascade, the water washing away any visible remnants, yet leaving the truth untouched. He embraced me, cradled me in a way that had been absent from my life for years. I allowed him to proceed. Following that moment, silence enveloped us, leaving words unspoken between us. After a quiet stroll back to the car, we dried ourselves, gathered our belongings, and departed. A fleeting glance at Leo revealed his crimson lips and the rigidity of his movements. I realized I had ruined it all. I was convinced that we had transgressed a boundary that would remain forever untraversable. Yet, for the first time in years, I experienced a sense of vitality. The journey back in the car began in silence. The atmosphere inside the car felt dense and oppressive, as if the very air conspired to anchor us in place. Though my gaze was fixed on the road and my hands gripped the steering wheel, my thoughts continued to race uncontrollably. I could still sense him, the magnitude of what had just transpired, his hands and his presence lingering in the air. My gaze was irresistibly drawn to him in the passenger seat. He remained motionless, gazing out the window. His crimson complexion and clenched lips revealed the depth of his distress. Suddenly, without warning, he broke the silence. "Mother," he spoke softly, his voice barely above a whisper. I averted my gaze from him. I refrained from action, yet his voice reached me clearly. "What is this? What transpired back there?" My heart raced with intensity. For a fleeting moment, I contemplated feigning ignorance, diverting the conversation or simply brushing it aside. Yet, the truth lingered. Denial offered no solace, especially in light of our shared experience. After drawing in a hesitant breath, I confessed to them, "I don't know." Indeed, it was true, or as near to it as I could manage. Understanding what had transpired, and the reasons behind it proved to be a challenging endeavor for me. All I understood was that everything had transformed. The stillness lingered as we rolled into the driveway. The engine fell silent as I came to a halt, yet neither of us stirred from our places. Leo then scrutinized me intently. There was an unsettling fear that gripped me as I gazed into his eyes. It was neither shame nor guilt, nor was it uncertainty. It was desire. "For how long have you been experiencing these feelings?" His question sent a chill down my spine. The very question lingered in my thoughts. As I gazed into his eyes, a profound awakening stirred within me. "I find myself uncertain." I uttered my words in a gentle whisper. "Perhaps I have spoken for longer than I intended." In the stillness of the dark, we lingered, the unspoken words hanging heavily in the atmosphere around us. "I am convinced that marked the conclusion of it all."